What is up, guys? We're going to give everyone a few minutes to hop on, but I'm going to start pulling up. What's up, Roby? I'm going to start pulling up our co-hosts. Let's see. Let me find Justin. What's up, Joe? Justin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, Don. How's everyone doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, Dameon, how's it going?
Hey, Joe. How you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good.
Good.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Spotlight and spotlight. Okay. All right. Oh, I spotlighted Joe. Everything is moving so fast. Okay, there you are. All right, guys, are we ready to get this party started?
Absolutely.
Do it.
All right, let me turn my camera on. Okay. All right, welcome in, guys. Thanks for showing up on a Thursday morning. For those of you that don't know, I'm Dawn. I'm a Sub-2 student. And we're going to get started with some intros here and give you some expectations of what this Zoom is, so everybody can kind of understand how the flow is going to go for the next few weeks between now and the next Elephant Challenge. So I'm Dawn. I've been in Sub-2 since March. And I'm a lot like you guys, where you guys are just getting started, right? And you're trying to figure out how to navigate everything. And so I'm learning just as much as you guys are, right? So, but I have two amazing people up here, Dameon Cooks and Justin. Justin, you're gonna have to pronounce your last name. I'm gonna say it wrong every time.
It's Minikis. So
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
No
Well,
one
guys,
ever gets it right. You'd be one of very few. So I appreciate you asking.
Oh man. All right. Well, guys, why don't you start by introducing yourselves and tell you how you got into real estate and why you're here.
Yeah. So I'm Dameon Cooks. I am out in the DFW area. I got started in real estate about 4 years ago as an agent. From my mother. She definitely she was an agent for about 19 years, so she kind of molded me into kind of the agent that I am today. So I'm licensed in Texas and Florida. But I'm new to Sub-2, so they didn't teach us any of this kind of Sub-2 creative financing, any of that in real estate school. So I'm here to kind of come in as a realtor perspective on how, we kind of think in our mindset. But at the same time, I'm new to the whole kind of agent outreach. I don't usually call agents to kind of get deals and add to my portfolio and all this kind of thing. So I'm just here to kind of show the knowledge that I kind of know as an agent.
Awesome. Justin?
Hey guys, my name is Justin Minikis. I'm in the DFW area too. So shout out to anyone in the DFW area. I've been in Sub-2 now since November. Just like everyone else, I'm still learning too. I'm still failing forward, making mistakes, and learning from my mistakes too. So I've done a few deals now up to this point, and I'm trying to literally just help anyone I can along the way. My background before I was doing real estate investing full time was I actually worked for a home builder for 7 years in the DFW area. So the general contracting stuff and rehabs and just construction in general, that's where my strengths were over the past 7 years. So moving into the investing space is definitely a transition for me. And that's something where I transitioned out of the construction world probably about 6 months ago now. I've been doing real estate investing full time and going to direct to seller. I'm doing some agent outreach too. So, I'm here to learn with y'all and provide any value I can along the way.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, I mean, look, we're all still learning. No one knows everything about real estate, not even Pace. As much as we love Pace, he's still getting himself into messes and figuring out as he goes, right? So that's all we're trying to do every day is how do we eat an elephant one bite at a time? And we have a big elephant in real estate, right? There's so many different ways that we can help people. There's so many different ways that we can create a business. But the best part is when you can squat up with people and you can get into a community that's going to push you and help you fail forward. Just like these guys here. I mean, they push me every day. They answer all my questions when I have no idea what I'm even doing. So just make sure that you are networking in the chat, right? I want you guys to network. I want you to be active, because when you're active in the chat, if for some reason it just makes you pay attention more, right? Instead of on your phone or trying to do your own thing. I want you guys fully invested in this. We're here for y'all, and we're here to help you get better. So let's go on to explain what Thursdays at 11 to 1 are for. And we kind of hit on it a little bit, right? It's agent outreach. And what that is how do we go and find deals when they're on Privy? And how do we talk to agents, right? Agents can be our gatekeeper to some of the best deals that we can find, right? So, but how do we start those conversations? How do we build those relationships? And how do we make sure that we can use that resource to build a business, right? But we want to go about it the right way. We don't want to go about it the wrong way and burn bridges. That's the last thing you want in this business, right? Yeah. You want to get a win for everybody. And if you go in it within that mentality, you're going to go a lot further. So listen to these guys, what they have to say. We're all speaking from whatever experience we have. Maybe it's something small, maybe it's huge, like Dameon, he's an agent. And so he has that perspective that we're all like, well, what do they feel about this? Or how do they like this conversation? And so we're going to navigate through those. So on Thursdays, it's all agent outreach. And during these calls, we're going to have a topic of the day. And our topic of the day is what, Justin?
Topic of the day today is going to be one, how to find on-market properties to reach out to with those agents, and then going through just the skeleton of the conversation. We got 5 or 6 questions that we just think, hey, these are some questions that are really good that you can ask every time to your agent that you're talking to. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, and it's just we're gonna keep it simple, guys. And each week we're gonna build upon that topic, right? So we're starting from the beginning, and then the next week we're gonna get a little bit more on how to get into those conversations and then what that looks like. So that way, by the time the next challenge comes around, you guys are prepared and at least know how to talk to an agent effectively and how to make sure your communication is on point, right? You're not going to mesh with every single agent that you talk to, but you can have a good conversation with them. And if not, you know how to pivot from there. On top of the topic of the day, we're also, if you've been with me for a while or in our Texas Zooms after the first couple elephant challenges, I like to start my Zooms off with wins and lessons. Then we'll go into the topic of the day. And then the last 45 minutes to an hour, we're actually going to dive into calls. Live calls, so you can see how those conversations go. So you can learn as we go. Okay? Sound good, everybody? Give me a yes in the chat if you are with me. Hey, Imelda. What's up? I see that someone else was a realtor in here. That's awesome. We'd love to hear your perspective too as we go along throughout the day. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start with some wins and lessons. So if you have a win or a lesson from this last week so far, raise your hand and I'll pull you up. Because guys, we learn from everybody else, right? We learn from each other's mistakes. We learn from each other's wins, and we want to know what those are. Joe, I know you got something, dude. I'm going to pull you up here. Come on, man. What you got this week? How'd it go?
Things are going good. I put a list together of properties that match a buy box for a cash buyer that reached out to me. He and I connected, I don't know, a while back, and we put our names on a list, and then we just forgot about that list. It was here and gone, and then he just pulled it out of nowhere, and I had to go back and search all my emails, and I found, like, that's where he knows me from. But I put together a list, And I'm going down that list now, calling. It makes it easier to find properties when you already have a cash buyer that's looking for that house.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
that's my win. Everything that I'm calling, I called him back and I said, hey, I got this. And he goes, okay, let's go ahead and make an offer. This is what I'll buy it at. You know, so we're still working together.
Easy,
That's
right?
perfect. That's
Easy.
awesome.
Guys, the way I explain it, when you're trying to look for a property, right? First, why are you looking for a property that you don't have a buyer for yet? Right? That's like looking for a needle in a needle haystack. They're almost all alike, right? You look at one and you go down this rabbit hole of, oh, that's a deal. Oh, that's a deal. Oh, that's a deal. And it's not because you don't have a buyer, right? So why are you looking for a lead on Privy that you don't have parameters to be able to go and find for your buyer, right? So same thing when you're talking to an agent. Why are you going to call an agent that you talk to about a property when you don't have a buyer for it? That drives agents insane, because if you try to get something under contract and then you don't perform, what does that do to your relationship with that agent?
Yep.
Dameon, does that drive you insane?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, all the time, especially like when the deals are brought to me and it's like, well, they didn't have an end game in mind. It's like, that's just my time to kind of educate them and kind of help them kind of comp and see where they actually need to be at. So I don't have no problem doing that. It's just, yeah, it's just harder. Like when you assume and you come to me like, last 2 days on your contract, you come to me and expect me to have a buyer for it. And it's like, it's way out of whack. So definitely have somebody double check your numbers if you don't have a buyer beforehand, or just like Joe did, have a buyer beforehand. That way you can work backwards and already know what they're looking for.
Yeah, make your lives easier, guys, right? Not every time you find something, you're going to be able to have a buyer lined up. We all get that. We've all been there, right? But before you get something under contract, go talk to a buyer first, right? Now, if it's one of those situations like, oh my gosh, this is a hot deal, I need to lock it up before somebody else does, understandable. But at that point, you don't wait until the last couple of days of your inspection period to go and find your buyer. Do it immediately. The second you go and submit that contract to the agent, you need to go and run and talk to all your buyers you have relationships with, right? So set yourself up for success. And we're going to do that with agent outreach. And that way you're not spending so much time comping properties that you haven't even talked to a cash buyer yet or talked to the agent yet, right? Don't waste time, right? All right. So Joe, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to pull you off of Zoom prison here. Hang on. All right. I want to hear one more win, one more lesson you learned, right? Guys, it could be something small. Like I made my first agent call this week, or I messed up and I want to share it because I want to celebrate you by doing that. Oh, Rob.
I think we want to hear too from we love the mess ups honestly more than the wins, because that's how you learn. So if you messed up this week, let's talk about it, because that's awesome. We want to give you some props for even going out there and participating.
All right, Robin, what you got?
Well, I don't have so much problem calling and talking to people because I do that for my job anyway. So where I'm having trouble, I've got actually 5 properties that I've talked to the realtor, and all 5 are interested in hearing back, and all 5 have said that their sellers are that they'd be willing to talk to them about creative finance. Where I have gone wrong is on the initial calls. Although I found out they were open to creative finance, I wasn't, I didn't get how much per month or any of the details so that I could actually do an offer. And in the meantime, Pace was on the weekend and I was on a call with Pace, and he actually called one of the people and promised them 4 different offers. So I've got a wrap, a novation, a wholesale, and I don't remember what the 4th one was because there's no more.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing this week is I got a hold of the deal or no deal spreadsheet, which I know is sub 2, not in Elephant Challenge, unfortunately. but and I'm sorry because I was on a call that I had to take just a minute ago. I missed part of what you said about did you say find a buyer first?
Yeah, or at
Ideally,
least have one in mind. Yeah.
right, go ahead, Dameon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's
So
what
like,
I'm having trouble with, is making 5 offers and not knowing what to do with them and what kind of offers to make.
yeah, so we're really talking about when you're finding a buyer ahead of time, it's more so of like a wholesale deal. If you're planning on wholesaling it, if it's more creative, you're kind of working out which extra strategy he was talking about. Like if it's going to be a wrap, you have a certain type of buyer for it. So you want to always have those kind of buyers in mind. If you're gonna have a tenant, have a wrap buyer, have an end buyer that's gonna end up flipping it, whatever the case is, you want to have them in mind and kind of take in consideration whatever their payments or whatever they're gonna have to take in effect whenever they're buying that house. So it very differs, but in the instance that we were talking about was a wholesale deal.
So in finding a buyer, you go into the community, is that correct?
If it's a creative deal, you can do. So if you plan on wholesaling a creative deal, yeah. So you would want to go into the a sub-2 community or creative financing community and say I'm wholesaling a creative deal, and just kind of make sure the numbers are right and everything like that. But yeah, you can also wholesale creative deals.
Yeah, bring it to a student. Like if you get stuck, guys, that's what we're here for. All the
Absolutely.
elephant leaders are here to help you with that. We know that not everything that you come in or every person or every lead you come in contact with is going to be a cash deal, right? It's especially in this market. Things are shifting and the markets are changing. And it's going more towards something creative because interest rates are starting to climb. It's making it harder for other people to qualify, homestead buyers to qualify for a home. And so agents and sellers are like, okay, maybe I should open my mind up to something else, right? So if you run into that issue, then just ask for help, right? Come find a sub-2 student. We'll either point you in the right direction, or maybe we even JV with it on you and educate you through the process, right?
So,
Why it
yeah.
is a lead and why it isn't a lead, right?
Absolutely.
So if you need, just be specific on what you need help with, right? So when you go into Discord, I'm going to give you a great tip. When you go into Discord and you say you need help, okay, don't just tag the leaders and say help. Be descriptive about what it is, because each leader, much like different buyers, have a different type of business they're running, right? So Dameon, what is something that you're interested in when it comes to real estate?
So I mainly do agent outreach, and I'm looking for mainly buy and hold, so creative deals.
Okay.
Mainly what I'm looking for, just because like what you said, the interest rates are rising, so it's making things a little bit harder, or kind of I have to buy it at a lot deeper discount if I'm doing like a flip or like a wholesale deal, which I still do those too. But yeah.
Yeah.
So if you buy and hold, how are you affording? I mean, what kind of creative financing are you doing? Are you doing seller financing where it's very either 0 or low percent for 30 years?
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the deal. Depends on the seller and what they need at that time, and how we can kind of work together to kind of get them what they need to be at.
Yeah. So if you have
I'd like to talk to you.
yeah, do it.
Absolutely.
That's what we
Yeah, my number's there.
The other mistake that I made is I have a very creative mind that thinks outside of the box, which sometimes works for me and sometimes doesn't work for me. So I picked not to focus on, but initially I'm actually looking to move myself. So I picked a community that I really love, but I also saw some potential in having to do with the fact that it's right next to a number of different national parks, like the Grand Canyon and Zion, and it's in Utah. And there's some beautiful country that's good draw for Airbnb, but the community itself is tiny. And so there's not a lot of investment value from the growth perspective because it's a very small community. So ultimately for the Elephant Challenge, I'm thinking I should shift gears, move into a high growth buy box and start looking there just for the experience. But in the meantime, I do think there's some buy and hold potential in this other smaller community because well, anyway, and I'd like to learn more about buy and hold because I have a number of reasons for looking into that. myself.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dameon can help you with that, and maybe you guys can get together after the Zoom so that way you can get a little bit more in depth on what he's looking for, and he can help you.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Thank you, Robin, for sharing. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do one more, and then we're gonna get on with the topic of the day. But those of you that raised their hand, I want you to raise your hand later when we get done with our topic of the day and calling an agent. Cool, sound good?
Yes.
All right, so let me see. Oh, who dropped their hand?
Oh, it was I don't know how to pronounce it. Dathan, maybe. I think that's how you
Okay,
pronounce it.
Nathan, raise your hand again at the end, and we'll be sure to get to you. I'm so sorry. Let me see. Ryan, you got a cameraman?
There we go.
There it is.
How's
My
it going?
man. How you doing, my
Got a
man?
win to share?
Yeah, I'm still taking baby steps with this. I'm not doing like the 5 offers a day type thing. I'm just trying to carefully look at things and then do an offer.
Yeah.
But so far, I had an agent send me 2 properties, and each one I went through the numbers, and wasn't very many comps around, maybe just one for both of them. And based on those comps, I made an offer, and they came back saying it's too low. But
Hey, you made an offer,
There
man.
you
That's
go.
awesome.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Was it hard? Is as hard as you thought it was going to be?
No.
Yeah. See, it's not as scary, right?
It was a little scary because I haven't done one, but
That's
the scary part is that what happens if it actually gets accepted. But
Yeah. That's a real scary
I-
part when it get accepted. It's like,
Yeah.
what do I do next?
I mean, I do have at least one buyer that said, "Hey, I'll buy anything 75% minus repairs, and doesn't matter the area." And so I have him in mind when I look at these properties, and when I do that, it just the offer's been too low so far.
Well, that's good. See, that's exactly what you should have done, right? You have someone in mind. Now that you submitted the offer, you're like, oh my gosh, what happens if it gets accepted? Who do I talk to? You at least have one person you can go to. One.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
great. That's more than most of us have. Right.
Yeah.
So you're on the right track, bud.
Absolutely.
And I have another buy box that looks too complicated. I haven't found anything for that one yet. So. He mentioned something about unyielded leverage or something like that, and I don't know what that is. I have to do some more research on that.
Yeah, do some more research or reach out to another student and we can kind of walk you through that a little bit. But that's amazing, man.
Yeah, and my one loss this week. My one loss this week is I missed Monday's meetup. So
man, that was
I thought it was Tuesday, and then I looked at my phone. It's like, oh my god, I missed it.
Oh man. Well, next time for sure. I would have loved to see you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I gotta say too, bro, I love your shirt. I saw the Mamba on there. You're taking shots just like Kobe. So, you gotta take shots. That's the name of the game. So making offers. So great job, man.
I'm not quite at the Mamba mentality yet, but
you're working way there.
One step at a time, man.
Yeah.
Awesome job, Ryan. Thank you so much for sharing, dude.
No problem. And Dameon, thanks for reaching out to that agent.
Absolutely, no worries.
Not too long ago, but
yeah.
Sorry it didn't work out.
Oh no, that's no problem. I mean, that's what we do. It's like, I mean, you're not gonna hit everyone. So I mean, I'm glad you sent it and we got it worked out. Now we know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now you just got to keep sending him more.
Yep. There you go.
All right, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Right.
Let's go ahead and we're gonna get started into our topic. So let's see, guys. We want to go into finding an agent to talk to on Privy, right? Is that what we want to do? That's what we need to do.
Yep.
So I'm gonna pull up my Privy. Just 1 second. If I can type. Let me make sure. Okay. All right. I'm gonna share my screen so everybody can see it. Go into desktop. All right. So move this so I can see everybody. All right, guys. So I'm in Privy. I'm going to reset my filters. So let me see in the chat where you guys want me to pick a city. Let's say somewhere in Dallas, Fort Worth. Which one should I pick? What city?
Yeah, I'll let them drop it in the chat. I'm gonna drop
I
mine.
have one. May I jump in?
Why not?
Let's do it.
My next place that I was going to start looking is Georgetown, which is just outside of Austin.
Okay, you want to go to Georgetown? That's where I used to live.
Oh, really?
I did.
Cool.
All right, so let's put in Georgetown. Georgetown, Texas. All right, so I'll include surrounding area. And I'm just gonna, guys, I'm gonna look for the active status and single family, okay? And guys, are we gonna be picking one of these? What do you think, Damon, Justin, Dameon?
I would do probably fix and flip, if
Okay.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so what am I doing for my ARV? Am I adjusting this or am I just searching?
It would help if you can adjust it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what am I
Wait.
adjusting it to?
What do you think, Justin?
So I went to a meetup
Yeah.
last Tuesday, and there were some wholesalers doing very high level stuff. And because of the market changing, we do need to adjust our ARV numbers just a little bit. Obviously, you want to speak to your buyers and see what they're paying on now. But at the meetup, Josh Duke, he's in sub 2, high level wholesaler. He said they're doing 65% ARV right now.
Okay,
So that's what I would recommend doing.
let's
Mhm.
drop it down to there. And am I changing anything else down here?
I would go into like year built maybe, and try to make that like, so it's nothing like too crazy. I don't see maybe like 1970.
1970. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
Just
right.
because I don't know if that area is an older area though, so that they have older homes, but I know a lot of buyers are like kind of they have like each have their own criteria, and a lot of them nowadays are having like 1970 plus in their criteria they're looking for.
And guys, what we're doing here is if you had a specific buy box like Justin was talking about, right? You're going to go in based on what your cash buyer wants or your buyer, and go in and adjust these things for them based on this area, the type that they're doing, and the percent to ARV they're buying at. And you can include some of these. I just leave those right now, unless I have a whole bunch of things that I'm looking at. But I'll come down here and adjust these. And what do we want to say that we want to do for days on market? What's our low?
Like 60, 70 maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe more.
I agree.
Let's try 60. Let's see what happens when we pull that. So then I'm just going to hit run search. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what I was at. Maybe take the year off.
Okay.
Take the years off.
Go back to my filter. Change that. Let me see what happens there. Ooh,
Still nothing.
Dang.
let me see what happens here.
It says past month.
Do what?
I looked
Oh,
at
Still
it.
has
change your
past
month.
month.
Yeah, it just says past month. Go all the way down to the bottom. Yeah.
Oh, thank
So
you.
like go back like 6 months. Yeah.
I was like, what is happening?
That's
Man.
still nothing.
Still
Zero.
nothing.
I looked at it the other day and I was finding all kinds of stuff.
Let me
There were
see.
several hundred.
I wonder if it's something that let's see. Let me try a different city and see what happens. Yeah, it's probably something in my privy. Dameon, do you want to pull up your privy and see what's
Yeah.
happening
Okay.
here?
Let me see.
Here, let me stop my share. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Me and privy aren't getting along, I guess.
It might have been a fix and flip setting.
Yeah, it might have been. It happened to me the other day too, so I need to go in and probably reset everything and bring it back. There might be a saved search that I have stuck in there somewhere.
Let's go back here.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you wanna leave off fix and flip?
Yeah, let's see what happens if we just.
Oh, wait, is it showing you guys?
No.
Um,
Oh,
Stop
okay, let me
sharing,
see.
restart.
Oh, I think I shared the wrong screen.
Okay.
There we go. Can I see that now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'll leave off the fix and flip and I'll still leave like the 60 days.
Let's see what you get.
Okay, cool.
There we go. All right. So guys, this is Georgetown. Georgetown is a good old boys town. But why don't we just scroll around and see if we can find something we like, Dameon? So when we're
Yeah.
looking for a property, what do we want to pay attention to? Does it matter?
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Do y'all just want to start from the first one? Y'all want to kind of have it like listed from?
Let's start with the first one.
Okay, cool. First one's 21950 square foot, 1940 built.
That's in like the heart of downtown.
Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
So stepwise, as far as what we're doing, definitely gets kind of analyzing the property as far as like what we can see. I mean, obviously this doesn't look like this one looks kind of not fully remodeled, but I mean, it looks like it's in good condition.
Right. So is this something we want to spend our time on?
Probably not.
Probably not. All right. See how quick that was, guys? Like we know it's already been somewhat remodeled. Doesn't mean that it won't fit. No. Maybe one of our buyers. No. But if we're looking for something that we want to wholesale for our buyers, maybe we can find something that needs a little bit of work. So that way we can negotiate on price a little bit better.
I'm try to find something that just looks like it needs some work.
Why don't we go like the sort results? Click on that. Let's say, yeah, let's do price. Let's change it by price and see what comes up.
So these are like the lowest, lowest to high.
Yep.
All right, cool.
It's kind of crazy that that's the lowest price.
Right. And
All right,
yeah,
so
these still look good.
Okay.
Yeah. They did drop the price 1,000. Not really much. Like, was that yesterday? Or is that today? That was today.
Oh, look, it's selling by Open Door.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you guys want to talk about Open Door about? You want to kind of hit on that?
So who knows what Open Door is? Let me see it in the chat, guys. Everyone know what Open Door is? They are a big company that came in and swooped up so many properties, right, over the last few months, right? And so now they're trying to offload all of these properties that they bought, fixed up, and a lot of them are still sitting on the market. So they're losing a lot of money, right? But with Open Door, you got to be careful, right? They have bought really, really high and then put money into it and then are still trying to sell it for a high amount. So you just want to make sure that you are being cautious dealing with Open Door. I personally stay away from anything with Open Door, anything like that kind of brokerage. So just a little hint there. Justin, you want to add anything to that?
So I actually spoke to a Redfin agent yesterday, and for whatever reason, they're representing Open Door in trying to sell like a few of their properties. So the agent, not to contradict you, Don, but she was literally almost begging me for an offer. At that point, though, it's hard to. We'll get into this here in a minute too about the 4 pillars, some questions that you should be asking. And the reason Don's 100% correct with Open Door, just be very careful. And the reason she's saying that is because it's harder to find the real motivation and how we can help that seller out if it's a big corporation like Open Door. Because at the end of the day, we are here to provide value to these agents and to the sellers and solve their problems too.
That's a good one, Dameon.
Yeah, I'm thinking like maybe this might be one we can at least look at.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, guys, so the last time that I really paid attention to Open Door was when they were over the summer buying all those properties and acquiring them. In my parents' neighborhood alone, they bought 15 properties in the span of 2 weeks. That is not a joke. Like 15 properties in this subdivision. And they're still trying to sell them now. So, but to Justin's point, it may be now that the market has shifted, they are really trying to sell. And so they may have some motivation, but they're not necessarily going to have the same motivation as a homeowner that may be going through some sort of pain point. Open Doors pain point is that they're losing money, right? That's the big pain point. So that's why it's important to pay attention to markets and shifting. So if this agent that Justin talked to is like, hey, we're trying to get rid of these and they want to make some money because Open Door asked them to list it, well, why not get with the agent, talk to them about how you can help them, right? And see if we can work something out. They may be willing to negotiate a little bit, but you won't ever know until you actually talk to that agent that's representing Open Door.
That's something too I want to touch on just for a second, is setting the proper expectations when you're talking, especially if you're talking to these agents who are representing Open Door. Like on the call I had yesterday, I told the agent, I said, listen, I'm an investor. Like my offer is not going to be anywhere close to what you're listing the property at. And I don't want to waste your time. So is it even worth it to submit an offer on it? And at that point, we have that agreement now where if she gives me permission and says, yeah, we will literally look at any offer you have. Well, great, submit an offer, take your shot and see what happens. I think the better use of our time and the better we can provide, or the better way we can provide value is actually dealing with an actual homeowner though. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind if you are talking to an Open Door listing is all.
So Dameon, did we find one?
Yeah, so I think this is maybe a good one to kind of start off with. I mean, just because like the floors aren't done at all, like they have this really, really old carpet. I mean, bathrooms can use an update, wall, still have that wallpaper on.
The very cheap ply doors.
Yeah, the kitchen definitely, kitchen counters, no black splash, stuff like that. And they have wallpaper everywhere. And then some of it's all different.
Someone told me wallpaper was coming back, and I was like, please don't. Please don't.
Yeah, so this could be something that obviously kind of look like you can kind of negotiate on the price, and it's been on the market for 3 months now.
Whoa, yeah, I think this is a perfect one, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to be like a huge amount of repairs, but all the small stuff could add up, right? So y'all, when we're looking for a property, we're kind of looking for something like this, or maybe something that needs a little bit more. This isn't in terrible condition. It just needs to be updated, right? Yeah. And if you know that that's where some of your buyers are, boom, now what do? Well, we just came and found a property on Privy, and we can call the agent. So Damon's over here looking at the comps.
Oh yeah, I mean, and a lot of the times I don't even well, yeah, sometimes I don't even comp beforehand just because I know I kind of like Justin said, I kind of set the intentions ahead of time with the agent, like I'm not going to be anywhere near your price. I want to see if we even have a conversation, if I need to take my time to even comp this property. Because if like they're not open to doing anything lower, then because I mean you see that they lowered the price only $6,000. So that tells me like, they're not really interested in lowering their price too further down. Like they're just trying to, and it's been listed for 3 months. They only dropped it down 6,000. So they're not really looking to drop more than like what they already have right now. So yeah, go ahead.
Does that mean that you may not call them, or would you?
No, I'll still definitely call them. Still definitely call them to see like, where we're in the ballpark and kind of see what the options are. But I always just kind of let that upfront known, the intention known that like, I'm not going to be near your cash offer price. So like, is it even worth me kind of like, going in, doing my comps and stuff like that? Like, what are they open to?
Right.
So yeah, definitely still worth a call, but just make it quick so you can get on to the next one.
I mean,
we got a question too from Robbie. I think it's a good question. So I'll ask you, Don, what do you do if the agent flat out rejects creative financing?
So if the agent flat out rejects creative financing, the question I ask in my mind is, well, okay, why did they just completely ignore it, right?
Mhm.
That could be a couple things. It could be that I didn't build rapport and I just came hot out of the gate and said, hey, are you interested in creative financing? That's not going to come over well, right? It could be that they don't know anything about creative financing, so they hear the word and they're like, oh no, I don't think so, right? But here's the other problem. Your agent can reject it, but if you submit an offer with whatever you put on it, whether it's a cash offer or creative offer, they have to submit it to their seller, right? So if your agent is rejecting it, what's the easiest follow-up question, Justin?
So I would say, because I've actually had these situations and ran into them before, and they flat out reject me like from the first moment. So at that point, I kind of backtrack a little bit, and maybe if we did get off on the wrong foot, I'll just try to say, hey, listen, I'm not here to lowball you or anything like that. My intention here is to come up with a win-win situation. And at that point, I ask, I just say, would it be worth it to just go back to your seller and at least ask them if they would be open to something like this?
Right.
And typically at that point, they're like, well, I guess I could, like, it's not, I just think my seller would prefer a cash offer.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where, you can just guide them and just say, hey, I mean, have you even asked the seller? Like, I don't know what their situation is. You would know the best, but would you be open to having that discussion? And just leaving the door open at that point.
Yeah.
What you got to add to that, Dameon?
Yeah, so yeah, agents, like I said, like they don't teach you this in real estate school. So a lot of agents are stuck in their old ways where they don't really even know what creative financing is. The only thing they know about creative financing is that like if they do a seller finance, that they're not going to get paid. That's what they think. And so I always try to come up with the upfront saying like, look, if I still take care of your commission, like, can we like kind of visit the conversation, like doing something more creative so we all can win?
Yeah.
So I'm not like shorting the seller and I'm not doing any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
I always kind of make it that up front because I mean, in their kind of mindset, a confused mind is always going to say no.
Yeah.
Like they're just going to say no initially because they don't even know the situation. They can come up with all these objections that you can actually have an answer to, but they don't know any of the answers. So you always have to kind of ask to make sure, like, what is the objection? Like, why would they say no to it? Like, and then kind of fill in the bubbles for them to kind of have them open to that conversation with the seller.
Carol's got a good question. Carol, do me a favor though. We got to get through our topic real quick, but I want to answer that before we get off today. So just raise your hand later tonight this afternoon, and we'll make sure we answer before we get off. Sound good? Okay. All right. So, Dameon.
Yes.
Now that we've found our property, and I think we've found our agent, can we see where our agent is? Where do we find that information?
So on Privy, how do I move this? Okay. Agent is, it's not Open Door, it's Orchard Brokerage.
Okay,
It's
Orchard.
Remy McDonald. So I usually just copy and paste the name in a new browser in Google. And
something I mean, I can't pull it
Guys, if
off
you
at the
can,
caliber.
make sure you're muted.
I'm also there. Your mom is my people
Hang on, I'm gonna fix
in
it.
terms of, philanthropic horse girl.
Hold on, Dameon. Let me unmute you. Hang on.
Sorry.
Oops.
this is all good, Mike.
It's all good. No worries.
Good seeing you though. Cool. So yeah, let's try to find where Remy is. Type in. All right, cool. Here we go.
So guys, this is just an easy way to go and try to find an agent. Now, sometimes if they're like with a big company like Orchard or Open Door Brokerage, it may be a little bit more difficult, but just use Google.
Yeah, and usually with agents, like if you just type in their name and their company and they type in HAR, usually something like this pops up and then you just go to more and then contacts. Like I feel like 8 times out of 10, I usually can find the agent that way. I'm not gonna say every time, but sometimes it's kind of weird. But yeah, as simple as that, it's calling the agent or finding the agent. and then just calling them and getting the information about the property. So
All right.
are
So
we
Dave,
doing that right now? Or are we?
before we get on the call, right?
Okay.
Why don't you go into 4 pillars, right? What is that?
Yeah.
What is the 4 pillars?
So the 4 pillars are going to be the motivation, the timeline, the price, and the condition of the home. Which is kind of why I like agent outreach so much, is because you kind of get most of those up front already. You already have the price because they have it listed. You already know they're motivated because they have it on the market with an agent. So they have some sort of motivation of, like they want to sell the house. Not necessarily they need to, but like they're looking to sell the house. And at that point, you have half the motivation there. You got to figure out the other half through the agent, the seller. Timeline is kind of up in the air. Like I said, some sellers don't want to sell at that point in time. They just want to see what they can get. And some are in the situation where they're like being relocated, or they have to move somewhere else because of family, or they need to sell it because they're behind on something else, or whatever the case is. You kind of need to find that situation also with the agent. But I mean, if they're wanting to list it, they're in some kind of time crunch where they can take it as soon as possible if they get the right buyer, or they don't have to have that one. And then also condition. I mean, usually whenever you have an MLS property, they have to have some type of pictures there, so you can kind of get a feel of what the condition is, and you'll have like the agent remarks down below to kind of see like what kind of things may need to be fixed or have need to be done to it, like some TLC or stuff like that. So those are your kind of 4 pillars that you kind of want to look for whenever you're having that conversation with the agent, to kind of take mind of and take note of whenever you're kind of doing your deduction and everything.
Yeah, and guys, if that doesn't look familiar, those are the same pillars that we want to hit if we're talking to a homeowner, right?
Mhm.
It's no different. It's no different of the conversation or the pain points that we're trying to hit with these people. The only difference is the agent doesn't have all the emotional ties to that property that a seller would, right?
Yeah.
So we actually don't get a whole lot of the fluff. And you kind of notice that when you start talking to agents, is that they're very matter of fact, to the point, and they just want to give you all the information they know and move forward, right? So you still want to hit these pain points, understand kind of what is happening with this property, like Dameon was saying, and use those as a guide throughout your conversation. Doesn't have to be a long conversation. It could be a little bit longer, but you don't want to waste your time if you're not hitting those points. The other thing, let's see. It was a good question that I saw. It says, will you be able to wholesale the property if the house is listed with Open Door or something similar? Dameon?
Yeah. I mean, if you get a deep enough discount, and that goes with any property on on the market, like you want to get a very like deep discount, because like buyers can like go on MLS, or they can like have agents they work with that can go on MLS and see like, oh, that property was like listed for this, and they're trying to like, skim it off a little bit to kind of get this. So you want to really work on your negotiation skills as far as getting at a deep discount. So then it makes sense for that buyer to come in and say, okay, cool, he got it at this price, and it makes sense for me to kind of work on this project, whether it be, a fix and flipper or a buy and holder.
And guys, any contract that you sign, because in Texas, we have, if you're working with an agent, they use the TREC contract. And by default, it's assignable, right? That's how they've designed the contract. But if you are like with Open Door, depending on where it is, I'm not sure if they have a contract or if they're going through an agent or not. You have to pay attention and look and read through the contract and make sure that it's assignable. If you're not looking for that word assignable, then you need to send the contract to somebody else to read to make sure you understand it. And that would be a transaction coordinator. Okay.
Mhm.
So just pay attention to what you're signing. Don't sign anything before you read it. Okay. Even a TREC contract. A TREC contract is the Texas real estate. What's the C?
Commission.
Commission. So some of those, it comes in a template, and the seller and the agent and the buyer can adjust those parameters in the contract. So if you have one TREC contract that's completely in your favor for one sale, but the next one may be a little different, that's why it's important to read. And that goes for any other states. Okay, so make sure you're just paying attention to what that is for your own state. All right. Well, do we want to go in and just call? Just knock it out?
Yeah. Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Justin, you still ready?
Yeah, so I just want to go over just
Oh,
some
yeah,
like
yeah, the questions.
5
Yeah, go ahead.
questions first that like
Absolutely.
I always ask on a call, especially with a realtor. So I have them written out and I can post it too in the chat here in a minute. But I just kind of want to go over those questions with y'all and make sure like everyone understands like why I'm asking those questions and where they're coming from. Okay, I just posted it in there. So like this is just for me, and this is just a good script for me. If Dawn has a different script or Dameon has a different script, it's not, there's no one size fits all. Everyone kind of calls and does it differently. So this is how I do it. The first question that I ask when I get on the phone is hey realtor, this is Justin. I saw the property on 123 Banana Street. I just want to see if that property is still available. The last thing I want to do is get into the details of all about the property and the property's under contract already, or they're about to accept an offer. So I just want to find that out first. So for me, that's the first question I always ask. Yeah. Second, and guys, feel free to jump in, Don and Dameon, if y'all have any feedback. Second question I have here too is, can you tell me what's going on with the property? So just super open-ended. You'll get 2 responses typically. If you have a realtor who's very chatty, likes to talk, I mean, they could just tell you everything about the house, the homeowner's dog's name, how long they lived in the property, everything. Like you'll get everything right at that first question. It's probably a 50-50 in my experience of what you'll get. The other response is, well, what do you want to know? And then at that point, you know, you can ask these other follow-up questions I have here that are posted, so you can get a little bit more detailed with it. So if they do ask, what do you want to know? I typically say something along the lines of, well, I see the pictures online. It seems they look nice, or if the property is just trash, I'll try to throw out some compliment, so I'm just not bashing their listing. And I'll say, well, it looks like it has the potential to have some good bones or a good fix and flip. You know, what do you think has the property sitting on the market? And I asked that too. Once again, it's an open-ended question, and they're going to tell me their opinion, whether it's, you know, the market shifted and we listed at the wrong time, or they might just be like, hey, you know, I told the seller they need to lower the price. They have it. We know it's overlisted as far as price goes, and my seller is just being stubborn. So, you know, getting into those questions, just getting a little bit more detail, you'll pull out more information there as you go through the conversation. And then who can tell me too, you know, out of the 4 pillars, what kind of question was that? Like, what do you think has the property sitting on the market? Just post it in the chat, like what kind of, exactly, Arena's got it. That's going to be, you're trying to get their motivation at that point. So he could be like, oh yeah, like, you know, the property's been sitting because it's got structural issues, and that can tie into condition too. And I told my seller we need to fix it, and they're not wanting to do that, and blah, blah, blah. And then you could even dig deeper in that specific situation. And from there, you're like, okay, like, why doesn't the seller just, you know, put the money into the property and fix it up? And then they'll tell you even more about, well, they, you know, they're strapped on cash right now. They can't do this, they can't do that. And you're just getting motivation. So Arena's got that right on that one. And then my next question after that is, what kind of timeline is the seller looking at to get something done here? So obviously we're going to be talking about, that's out of the 4 pillars, you're getting the timeline there. Most of the time with on-market properties, from what I found, they'll just say, hey, we can close as fast as you can. If it's an owner-occupied property, they may say, hey, we need like 30 days at least to move out. So at that point, you know, you'll get their timeline there. The next question I ask is, do you have any offers on the table at the moment? And the reason I ask that is I want to know, you know, is there any activity on this property, or am I their saving grace here? That's going to gauge their motivation again too. Obviously, you know, if you talk to an agent that says, oh yeah, we got 3 offers, we're going to be deciding over the weekend, there's probably not going to be a lot of either wiggle room there for us to do a wholesale deal, or they don't have enough motivation for at that point because they got 3 other offers they're looking at. So just something to keep in mind there. And then the last question that I think you should always ask is, what's the backup plan if the house doesn't sell? I don't want to say, what's the backup plan if you can't sell this house? I don't want to attack the agent like that. So I say it in such a way where it's like, what's the backup plan if the property doesn't sell? And then typically, you know, some answers that you can get are, well, they're going to rent it out, or, well, they'll list it on Airbnb, or they'll just stay in it. Like, you know, you'll get a wide array of answers, or they'll just say, we haven't talked about that. This property is going to sell and it's just going to be a matter of time. So all those questions that kind of tie into either one of the 4 pillars there. So that's kind of why I asked those questions.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
That's awesome.
I think those are the great questions to start with, right? When you're starting out, if you don't know how to flow with the conversation, this is a perfect way to do that and hit all of the pillars, right? So you don't need to know everything. You don't even know how to actually, you know, like, oh, what is the inspection report and how do I get that? And you don't need to get into all those details. You just need to hit the main points of the 4 pillars. And this is the initial call, guys. This is the first one. So don't let it discourage you if you're having a hard time flowing through it. Just worry about the 4 pillars, like Justin's saying.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I would probably add to that, Justin, is you hit the nail on the head with all these questions. But at the end of that, every call I make with an agent, I always ask, hey, do you have any other properties that I can look at?
Yeah, that's a good
Right.
one.
That should always be your final question, right? Always. So that way, hey, if this one doesn't work, I'd love to look at anything else you may have. So awesome. Justin.
And one more thing, like what Don said, don't get discouraged. Like, you know, when you hear, because I mean, to set expectations, like, and be fully transparent, like, you're gonna get a lot of people that just like say, you know, are you gonna buy it or not? Like, I don't want to waste my time. Like, don't let those kind of people like deter you from like taking on this type of, you know, like outreach just because of somebody having a bad day. You're like, you know, I treat it like a game. Like, sometimes I look for the no's and try to like figure out what's my best objection that I can come up with to figure out the next one, or I'll just laugh on it to it and go to the next property and keep going. And you're gonna make mistakes on your 4 pillars. Like, you're gonna find out a pillar. You're gonna forget to ask one of the questions Justin had. Like, you're gonna do that. And the thing is to keep going and kind of create that consistency so you can keep going to the next one and, you know, kind of get on the same page.
And one thing to add on to that too, if you do ever get stuck, one thing that I always say, and if you just can't think of the next question, or you know, whatever it is, I just say at that point, well, let me run some numbers on it. Let me just do some due diligence and I'll get back with you. Like, that's just a great way that you're not, you know, you're not saying you're not interested. You're not saying you're going to make an offer, but let me just go back and run the numbers. And then that way you can come back too and be like, hey, we were running the numbers on this and I completely forgot to ask you, like, you know, this question, like, you know, what's going on here? And you can always come back and ask a question at that point. This first call, really, it should be more just about building that relationship and that connection with the realtor, because at the end of the day, like Don and Dameon were saying earlier, this is a relationship business. And those realtors too, when they have other listings, and if you are able to solve their problem on their particular listing that you're calling about, they're going to send you more. You're going to be their go-to at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So the first call is really just getting some rapport, you know, and just kind of going through the process there.
Awesome. Well, Justin, why don't you get after it, man? Let's make a call.
Oh man, I'm on the hot seat now.
On the hot seat.
No pressure. All right. Do y'all want to pull one up and then I can call?
Do you want to do this one with Remy? And then
Yeah,
we
do
can,
that one.
Okay.
and then like once you have the number, I'll go back to the property so you can kind of see it and the address and everything.
This is Remy. Okay. And guys, let me know if you can hear it too. I'll put it on speaker and try to make it as clear as possible. I don't have a mic or anything like that. All right, we're calling.
Hi there, this is Rainey McDonald with Orchard. I'm sorry that I've missed your call. Feel free to leave me a voice.
All right, guys. And what I always do is I do a double call because sometimes they do answer on the second call. So I'm going to try doing that again.
Definitely.
Hi there, this is Rainey McDonald with Orchard. I'm sorry that I've missed your call. Feel free to
Okay.
leave me a
Crazy.
voicemail. But for a faster response, feel free to text me. Thanks for calling and have a great day.
Hey, Remy, this is Justin Menikis. I was just giving you a call about the property on Susanna Drive over in Georgetown. Just wanted to see if you had a few minutes to give me a call back and just wanted to get a few more details on that property there. My number is 214-862-8161 and look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Awesome.
Ooh,
Okay, I have another one. I pulled up another one.
awesome.
It's been listed for 133 days. So, Damon, you want to type in 1540 Parkfield Circle.
1540. Is that one word?
Parkfield is one word.
Oh, Parkfield. All right, Round Rock.
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
And the agent's information is down in MLS
Oh,
details in the
I
property.
thought I knew this agent. I was like, it can't be. They're the same person.
Do you know that agent?
No, it is. I know a Craig Morris, not Craig McGuire.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so they go up a little bit,
Did I piss it? Did I miss it?
just a little bit. Go up
Oh, other way.
in the description, in the second paragraph of the description.
I'm
Right
so
there.
sorry. There we go.
No, you're good. All right, Justin, let's do it.
All right, let's try this one. All right, Craig.
Hi, you've reached Craig McGuire with Bramley Residence.
My goodness, what is up
That's
with these?
crazy.
agents?
Everyone's at lunch.
Man, I guess they don't want to make any money.
That's really crazy.
Try one more time. I'm looking for another one too, guys.
Hi, you've reached Craig McGuire with Bramley Residential Real Estate.
I'm not gonna leave a voicemail that
Okay.
time.
It's just your day.
Here's another one.
Usually when you text, like I get a call, or at least I get a text back say, "Oh, I'm busy right now. I'll give you a call right
Yeah.
back." Something like that. They're always good for that. Agents
Yeah.
always do that.
Let's see. There's a 1406 Idaho Falls Cove.
How you spell Idaho?
IDAHO.
Falls, Pflugerville.
Yep, Pflugerville.
All right, cool.
Now, if this Keller Williams agent does not answer, I'm going to be very disappointed.
All right, let's give it a check.
Trying to see where her information is.
I think it may be right here. I got it. Oh, that's a different kind of.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, you got it?
Justin, it's 512-346-3550.
Okay, and her name's Laura.
that's the office number. I don't see her cell number. So if someone else like a receptionist answers, just ask for Laura.
We're Armbrust.
Yeah, if that number doesn't work, I think this may be her direct number, maybe.
Well, maybe try the direct one first and see what happens.
Dan, thank you for calling Keller Williams, Austin Northwest location, and the #1 real estate company in the world that started right here in Austin, Texas. You may be calling us outside of our business hours, or we're currently serving a client. We are open, but
All right, I'm gonna try the mobile number.
Oh, Shin, he's got a number there, but it's different. That one, that 979 number looks like like
Corporate
almost
number?
like a Google number,
Yeah.
like a business number. The 512 is the actual area code for that area. So I'd try the 41171.
What property address is this again?
Oh, 1406 Idaho Falls, right?
Falls. Okay.
Yeah. "41 days.
this is Laura. You've reached my voicemail. Please leave a message.
No way. I think it's Justin.
3.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my lord.
Guys, just so you know, this is every day, right? So this
Yeah.
is not uncommon. And so this is exactly what we want you to see, that if you're not getting any agents to answer, it's not your fault. This is just how it goes. When you go into agent outreach, this is what happens. So you just have to be diligent. I would write down, what I normally do is I write down these addresses, right? The people that I've called, so I know that I can hit them again later that day if they didn't answer. So the fortune's in the follow-up. So keep following up, and we're gonna keep going until we find one. But Dameon, how many times a day does this happen to you?
Oh man, I literally lose count. Like if I could show you like my book of like how many like addresses I have to write down because people don't answer and I have to follow back up with them. It's literally, I have a whole page of just like unanswered agents, and which is really crazy because I don't understand. Like I feel like they would want to get paid too, especially on listings that have just been sitting there forever.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's
One thing you can do too, guys, if they don't answer, is send them a text and just say, hey, I just was checking out that listing over on 123 Main Street. When would be a good time to jump on a call to discuss that property? And sometimes you are able to like, get a response back and set up an appointment there.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to try calling her again or try another property?
Well, why not? Why not double dial?
Yeah, double dial. If you didn't dial twice, you didn't dial once.
That's right.
Especially dealing with agents.
Laura, you've reached my voicemail. Please.
All right, cool. Let's see. I have another one. This one's been on the market 69 days, and it's 17201 Dashwood, one word, Creek.
And Sherry Hydemarsh. Is it Hydemarsh?
Just go with Sherry, Dameon.
Sherry.
stick with that.
Let's see. Here's Sherry.
Sherry's gonna answer. I feel it.
No, absolutely. She looks like she's answering.
She looks like she's on it.
We gotta manifest this, guys.
Guaranteed. She got all her credentials here.
Beauty.
All right. What was the address on this one too?
On Dashwood.
17201 Dashwood.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, no.
This is Sherry.
Hey, Sherry, this is Justin Menikis. How are you doing?
I'm good. What can I do for you?
Hey, I was just calling about a listing over on Dashwood. First off, I want to say thank you for answering your phone. You're the 5th agent that I've tried reaching out to now, and you're the first one to answer, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I just was wanted to get a few more details on that property. I saw it listed, and can you just tell me a little bit about it?
And originally, they want to do make it, make the updates. So it has new flooring, new paint, new appliances. The roof is fairly new. I can't remember the date on that, a few years old. HVAC was this summer. Gosh, what else? New paint inside. They were the original owners. And so it's in pretty dang good condition. They just started out too high.
Ooh, okay. That was gonna be my next question is like, what do you think has the property even sitting on the market?
First off, we listed it before doing the updates because that's what they wanted me to do. And second, after I took it off the market, did the updates and put it back on, they still wanted to leave it priced higher than I said. And the market's just shifting.
Right.
And so every seller on the market these days is playing the same game. Let's see how much we can get. And I keep telling them, list it lower and you'll find out how much you can get. But
yeah. No, I completely get it. I feel for, realtors like yourself too. I know like there's an education process to sellers sometimes because they're stuck in the 2021 phase kind of where everything was just flying off the market. So definitely, y'all are the ones that we should really be appreciating here. So, but yeah, I'm just looking for a property that I can kind of put some elbow grease into that needs a little TLC. And you mentioned that they already started fixing up the property a little bit.
Yeah, it has all new appliances, painted almost throughout. And so there wasn't anything structurally wrong with it. Cosmetically, it needed updates, and that's been done. HVAC is new, so I'm not sure this is your goal with this house. Yeah,
it might not be. It sounds like they did a good job on renovating everything. So definitely. How long ago did they do those renovations on it?
Maybe a month ago they finished.
Okay. And y'all listed it, I'm trying to find the days on market here, a while back?
It's been 40 days, I think.
Okay, gotcha. So y'all listed it originally without the updates, and then they kind of saw how the market was going and then started doing some updates on it.
Yes.
Gotcha, perfect. All right, and as far as like a timeline to get something done here, what are your sellers looking at?
As soon as possible, but again, they've had some lowball offers, and they're not in that kind of hurry.
Yeah, not entertaining those. Gotcha.
Nope.
Gotcha. Is there a backup plan just in case like they don't sell the property?
That's a very good question. They haven't really answered that one yet.
Okay, gotcha. All righty. Well, I guess what I can do now is kind of just run the numbers on my end, see what I'd be willing to come up with there. Would there be a good time to get back with you?
Not necessarily. I mean, you keep my phone on me all the time. Sometimes I can answer, sometimes I can't. But you can always text me or call me or email me. I'm pretty responsive. Perfect.
And if this property doesn't end up working out, do you have any others that are sitting on the market that might need some TLC?
No, I do have one coming soon, but it's a property that was left to 3 children, and that's always fun trying to get it on the market and getting them to all agree to something. So that one's not anywhere close to being ready for me to tell you about.
Absolutely. That makes sense. All right. Well, let me do some due diligence on this one and see if it's something we want to make an offer on, and I'll get back with you and see what we can come up with.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Sherry. Have a good day.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Boom.
Bam.
Guys, tell me what you learned about that call. I want to hear it in the chat.
Awesome, Justin.
Be
Thank you,
active.
guys.
What's the one thing that you learned in that conversation that Justin just did? You guys asleep? You can't. There's 42 of you guys in here. Come on. There we go. Got a couple. Good. There we go. Yeah, Arena got a great one. To let her guard down, right? He got the motivation. Good. Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest thing that I noticed, right? She let her guard down a little bit as the conversation went on, but she still threw in, I don't think this is going to be the right property because they're not looking for those, they've been lowballed before. And agents are going to do that because their job is to protect their seller. That's their customer, right? That's their listing. And so they're going to do everything to protect them, which is perfectly fine. So they're going to throw out what they have been getting. And he answered another question. What kind of offers have they been getting? Without directly asking that question, he got that answer. So there's so many different ways that you can flow through a conversation to get to every point that you need to get to. So that was awesome. Great job.
Was definitely. And I hear are the updated pictures. It looks like it does look different. So they definitely put in some work to try to sell it on market.
Yeah.
That's one thing I want to point out too, guys, right? Privy had the previous listing, and then Justin managed to figure out the information that they had it previously listed, took it off to do the updates, and then relisted it. And so Privy may not have gotten that updated information, but that's not necessarily Privy's fault. It's based on how it's updated in the county or the MLS. And by the time they get it, there may be a delay. So if you ever seen that difference, that's why. So I always look at Privy and then I go to Zillow to see if it matches, right? So that's just a little quick tip. But Dameon, from your perspective, what do you think was good, and what are some other things that came up that maybe we should pay attention to from your perspective as an agent?
Yeah, no, I mean, as far as like the way he was like asking the questions, it made it seem like he obviously had confidence in himself and that he knew what he was looking for. Like, with him going in the mindset of like, putting in some elbow grease, like obviously he's looking to obviously fix and flip it and do things like that. And I try to stay away from having the mindset of, being a wholesaler, because like when people say like, oh, you're a wholesaler, it's like calling you like an exit strategy, like, or like a fix and flipper, like instead of like, that's an exit strategy. Like you're an investor. So you're looking at what can you do with the property? So the way he handled the conversation made him seem like he was really an investor, not just like a certain type of extra strategy. So that's why I like the way he handled the conversation.
Yeah, don't let agents put you in a box, guys. Right? And Dameon pointed it out perfectly. Wholesaling isn't as exit strategy. That's just one strategy as an investor that we have in our tools, right? That we can do. And that may be your only business right now, but that doesn't mean that you can't still keep your investor hat on and find and squat up with another investor that may want this property for their exit strategy. So don't let agents kind of control that conversation, say, oh, you're just a wholesaler. And you don't have to do it to where it's this negative kind of conversation, but it could be, oh yeah, no, I totally understand. That's not my point here. I'm here to just see if it fits for us. And if we're not a good fit, no big deal, but I'm happy to look at it and get back with you and just update you on what my decision is. Right. So, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest takeaways that you guys should definitely get from that, is that you're not just in this one box of wholesaling. You're an investor.
Yeah. And one thing too that I like to say sometimes is my partners and I are looking for a fix and flip. And that is like so true, because you are partners with a fix and flipper once you do wholesale the deal for them. So they are your partners at that point. So that is completely truthful. And that's something, sometimes I do say stuff like that. If they're curious about, like, if I'm an investor, if I'm a homestead buyer, whatever it is. So one little tidbit there.
And so Dameon, from your perspective, when people come to you, and let's say you didn't know anything about being an investor, right? You're not an investor yourself, you're just an agent. You know, when those conversations would come up, how would you feel as an agent when investors would call you?
So I never actually had to deal with like listing a property as a well, I did it earlier when I was an agent, but I never really had investors calling me about those properties.
That you knew
like
of?
yeah, that I knew of, exactly. So I guess like in the perspective of like, how I would feel if someone did. I'm sorry, what was the question again about it? Like,
Well,
how would I feel if
we're trying to get in the mind of an agent, right? Why would they be so defensive if an agent?
Yeah. So because I mean, at the end of the day, like agents have a fiduciary duty to make sure their clients taken care of correctly, and a lot of the times we have a stigma of like investors wanting to obviously what she said, lowball. She's not lowballing any kind of offers, and like as soon as he kind of let her know that he was an investor, she automatically think that it was going to be a lowball offer. So she automatically kind of put a guard up a little bit, saying like, we're not accepting any lowball offers. If she was talking to like any kind of other kind of agent, like if she was talking to like me, like another agent, and like say I had a buyer, she's not even thinking in the mindset of, oh, I'm gonna get a lowball offer. But just because she knows he's a fix and flipper and an investor, she automatically thinks, oh, like, well, we're not gonna take a low offer. So just the fact of like, we're always trying to take care of our clients, and it's some agents, I'll be honest, some of them are just looking for the commission. They don't want to lower their commission, and so they don't want to take a lower offer. That's just being honest. And some of them are actually looking out for their clients and making sure they do it because they know they have like certain responsibilities, like their payoff may not be paid off, or their payoff not be as much as like or what am I trying to say? What they're trying to sell it for is not going to be enough for what they need to have another down payment for a house. So their payoff has to be paid off. Plus, they need the equity for like another house. So they're doing like they're looking at for their interest as far as that. So it's different things. But yeah, it's their duty to make sure they take care of their client.
And I think Damon, he's got something to add here. Damon, do you have your camera today or no?
I do. You guys get to see my ugly mug.
I get to see your awesome
So yeah, like I can always obviously speak like Dameon to the or just add to that conversation as an agent, right? That I have had investors call me, right? And I feel that as long as the conversation has started kind of much like Justin did, right? Where you're trying to build some rapport, we're trying to have a logical conversation. I think I've said this before, like when the people call me and they're like, I'm a wholesaler and I'm looking to sell, and I'm already like, man, it's unprofessional, number one. Number two, you're giving me a breakneck, drop bottom price on the property. Let's talk about how you got there, right? I love to hear that. Like, okay, how did you get there? How did you come up with those numbers? And if you can make sense to me as to how you got to that number, I can take that back to my client because I have a fiduciary responsibility to do so. And I can tell them, right, in a logical way, hey, I've got a cash investor. This is how they got there. And I'm just bringing it to you for consideration, right? Absolutely. And especially when I get those houses that have been on the market 60, 90, 100 days, I have to start having these conversations with my client to make them think in a different and more realistic way, right? Yeah. So I agree with you, Dameon. And I think as long as investors are thinking about it from like much like I said the other day, I've got a friend of mine who owns 200 doors, right? But he could call me and easily talk about business and money and all of that. He always starts a conversation with a joke. I mean, as soon as he calls me, right? Gets me laughing, gets me into the conversation. So I think if you start light and work your way big, that's always a real plus.
Yeah, I agree. And so David, what you're saying is we can't just go in and say, hey, you have your property listed for 300,000. I'm going to come in at 150 without saying anything else. You don't like that? Really?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great way to offend
Oh
anyone,
man,
right?
I'm so confused. You don't want to accept that offer. That's such a great offer. I didn't tell you anything about why it's a great offer, right? But
Yeah.
you don't want to accept it,
I
guys.
mean,
let's
we
have
all
some
know,
common sense.
I think like we all know that we're working towards the same goal, right? Like you want to buy, I want to sell, I want to get my client to sell. We're all working in the same direction, but you've got to tell me how we're going to get there, right? Because I've got 15 other houses that I'm dealing with. You want me to do the work for you? Like you know what I mean? Like it has to be an explanation. So I can call up the house and be like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Boom, right?
Right. And that's why, guys, the initial conversation should just be those 5 points, right? Those 5 questions you ask to get to your 4 pillars, right? And then the follow-up conversation is when you go and actually do the comping on the property. You can get a general idea of, okay, based on these pictures and based on this price and based on how long it's listed, there might be some motivation there. I'm going to hit those points, but I'm going to come back after we had our initial conversation to get more information directly from the agent to be able to go back and look at my numbers and see if it's a good fit before I insult them with just submitting an offer. Right? I want to be able to do just like Damon said, and give them my best offer based on these things and explain those things, right? Because a homestead buyer is different than an investor. Agents are used to more so homestead buyers coming in and negotiating on a smaller level than we would as an investor. Investors are looking at getting a discount based on the work we want to do and what our exit strategy is going to be, right? Versus a homestead buyer is going to just want to live in it and they'll do the repairs slowly. So that's not a pain point for them necessarily. It's a small one, but they're not going to take the price down the same way that we would. So that's a good differentiation to know when why you're looking and why you're having these conversations with this agent and you may be getting some pushback. It's because maybe they don't deal with investors a lot, or they're worried about protecting their client, right? So just make sure you put yourself in their shoes to understand during these conversations how they're going to feel. And then it's going to help your conversation so much better. Thank you, Damon. You guys are confusing. You got Dameon and Damon. I'm going to flip-flop between them all the time. Dameon, can you stop sharing your screen for me? Did you hit your hand? Awesome. Well, Damon, do you have anything else you want to add based on, the conversation, the way that we flow it? Is there anything else you think we should put in there from your perspective as an agent?
Yeah, so I mean, I can only speak to what I do because obviously I work both sides of the fence. I like to say I'm an investor first, I'm an agent second, right? Like, yeah, I think generally anytime I start the conversation, right, I feel like the start of the conversation is so important. If you start it and you get me on the wrong foot, right, I'm going to be pretty offset the rest of the conversation. So yeah, I like to start in a very like jovial, like, let's have a joke. I've always got some kind of a punchline set up, right? So to me, that's the biggest thing. If you can get people laughing, it really does make the rest of the conversation easier. And honestly, whenever I go into a conversation with an agent, my first conversation is always about, I may not even touch on sub 2. I may not even touch on fine. I may not even touch on any of that. I may just be building a little bit of rapport for you. I'm going to fill you out. I'm going to see where we're at. And so that's really, it's out of my mind. It's the second thing, right? And if we get that far, great. That's a great conversation. But it may be like, hey, I totally understand this house has been on the market for 1 day. Maybe I could call you back in just a couple of weeks to see, where you're at with this house. I'm very interested. I think you know what I'm saying. I try to keep the conversation light. I'm trying to make a friend.
Yep.
I want to make a friend first.
Right. And guys, it's okay if you find out, like Justin did, that this may not be the property for you. But that doesn't mean your relationship with the agent can end, right? You always want to keep them in the back of your mind or on your list or someone you can follow up with, because maybe they don't have properties right now other than, something small that may not fit what your buy box is or your buyer's buy box. But I'm going to hold on to their information because 1, she answers her phone. And 2, she said she always has her phone. And 3, she's willing to talk to me, right? We had a good conversation, and I'm going to hold on to her name because maybe next month or even 6 months from now, she'll have something that she wants to bring to me. But I would have been touching every single month with her, following up, right? Every single time I can, because I want to keep good agents that are knowledgeable, that can teach me a few things too. So that way we can start doing more deals together, helping her seller, and helping me get properties, right? So think about it as a two-way street. You can't just go into these conversations thinking that you're going to take. What value can you add to the agent? It doesn't necessarily need to be right now, but what can you do for them later that's going to leave a lasting impression in their mind? Like Dameon said, you can be that person that brings them a joke and it just makes them laugh at the best part of the day or their worst part of the day, right? And they know that when you call, that's how the conversations are going to be, rather than having a conversation that's dry, that has, nothing of value in it for them. And they know you're just calling to ask for something instead of adding something to them. And you won't know that until you get on the phone with them, right? You just have to keep perfecting your craft. You're not going to be good at this. You're going to say the wrong thing. You're going to, maybe piss some people off, but it should be a lesson to learn, right? I can come back, and if I did the same thing to Dameon, or Dameon said the wrong thing in one conversation, they may not remember me in 2 weeks, or they could, but then I'm just going to fall on the sword when I talk to them next and be like, hey, I'm so sorry about that last conversation. I hope that maybe we can continue to do business together. I want to be able to help you. If I have a listing that I need to list, I'd love for you to be my agent on that, right? They would love that, right? That's one way that you can just turn the conversation or that relationship from something that was negative at the beginning into a positive later, right?
Hey, Don, hey, can I add to that while you're on that point? Because
Sure.
something that I've noticed that really works for me really well, if I've got that conversation and it's flowing, but I can tell maybe the agent is, hey, that property's not going to work out. I say, hey, man, this may be a crazy question, but do you have a loan broker that you've been working with on a regular basis? Oh yeah, I've got this loan broker. Hey, would you mind if I called that loan broker and I use you as a referral? And I will immediately get off the phone with that agent, right? As soon as I'm done with that conversation, I'll reach out to that loan broker and I'll say, hey, agent such and such had referred me over to you. And I just wanted to fill you in a little bit about, what I do. I'm an investor and I'm kind of looking for houses. If you have any time to pencil me into your schedule, I'd love to sit down and have a 15-minute conversation with you.
And Dameon, what is a loan broker? Yeah, Joanne, I got you.
Right.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
What's the point of a loan broker, and why do we want to be in contact with them?
Yeah. Well, guess what, guys? Loan brokers are trying to get these deals done just as much as agents are. And the problem is the interest rates are high, right? So you've got exit on a house and entry into another house. And so, like, for instance, I just had a loan broker reach out to me. They are trying to get the other property sold because that property getting sold, right, is contingent on the next loan. So the loan broker reached out to me and was like, hey, can you possibly get this property sold? It's been sitting on the market. I don't want to lose this, this loan that I'm getting ready to go into. And he fed me into talking to that homeowner, right? I circumvented the agent altogether. I'm now talking to the homeowner, and the homeowner is, oh, sub 2, I had no idea about that. And then, of course, this is one other deal being an agent, right? I say, yeah, it's funny. Your agent has you listed at an extremely high price for the market. It seems like your agent may not be doing, maybe as much as they could with this property. I tell you what, I'm happy to help you as an agent. Let's get it listed at a good market price. And if that doesn't work, maybe then we can discuss sub two, right? And so it gets you in to have some of these niche conversations, but I'm telling you, loan brokers, title companies, these agents will lead you from one person to the next, to the next, to the next. And I'm constantly networking those agents for that.
So I think people are still confused. So is the loan broker in the same office as the agent?
No.
Or is it like a transaction coordinator in a title office?
Yeah. The loan broker is generally their own person, right? They, like my loan broker, for instance, she has her own business, much like an agent, right? So she's working on referral. She's working on commission. And so they are building these FHA loans, conventional loans, VA loans, whatever they may be. And by the way, that same loan broker, since like she does VA loans, she has early access to all the pre-foreclosures for veterans. And now that she knows that I can sub two on VA loans, guess what? She wants to help me. She wants to go into JV deals with me because we can close them in LLCs together, right? So she is her own entity. She is her own person. She is much like an agent.
So guys, to make it kind of simple, right? Let's say you have a house that's listed, okay? And you have an agent that's listing that house. Well, once this goes under contract to be sold, it goes to a loan broker, a loan officer. Is that correct, Damon?
Correct.
And then it goes to the title company to make sure all of those things get handled before close of escrow.
Don did a much better job at explaining that than I did.
So I know I have to dumb it down for myself, right? I'm like, okay, how do I put this in a visual for me? So but yeah, that's what he's kind of getting at. It's a loan broker is essentially a loan officer, right? And they're going through that process of Dameon has a house that he's selling, but he's trying to get into another house. The loan broker deals with the process of those two happening simultaneously. Okay. But what Dameon just pointed out is that if you go directly to a loan broker, that could be a way to get information faster that's fresh, right? And it doesn't mean you should go around an agent, guys. Don't go around an agent if at all possible. But you can go to them just like you would another agent. Hey, do you have any other properties I can look at? Right? It's just another tool you can put in your belt. So hopefully that makes sense. Elaine, does that make more sense for you? Maybe. Okay. Okay, cool. Got it. Thank you, Dameon. I appreciate you, man. All right, guys. Awesome. Let's go ahead and get into some questions. We got some time, right? I know we only made one call, but agents don't want to answer their phone. But as we go through this and week over week, we're going to make more calls and more calls and more calls, right? Because we're building our skills about agent outreach. Okay. So we went over this topic so that way you guys can go and implement it today yourselves once you get off the phone call, right? And then by the time next week, then we should have had some practice, right? So that way we can go into the next skill. So raise your hand if you got questions. I know I got a couple right here. So if anything pops up, please, please, please raise your hand. Let's bring up Miss Carol. Carol, hi.
Hi.
What can we help you with?
I've got Elaine right here, so.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why I always put in the thumb up. Can you mute? Okay. Sorry, I was getting feedback.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to add to what you guys were talking about with Dameon, I was a poker dealer for 24 years, so it's rare that I say the wrong thing, but I do. But the one thing you want to do is try to make it personable. It's just another human being. The reason why I'm asking the question is because I talked to a Florida buyer's agent, disembodied head in the background there. a Florida buyer's agent because it was a referral from a third-party site. I had like 3 properties I wanted to talk to, so I just went ahead and talked to her about all of them. But she actually used to live in New England. And one of the things she asked me where I was at, we talked about the weather, and then, you know, I told her it was cold, and she says, "Where are you at?" And I said, "Well, I'm in Kittery, Maine." And she goes, "Really? I used to live up there, you know, up in Portsmouth." So, you know, we talked about that for a little while, and that was my first call, honestly.
Nice.
But when it came to it, I know that they have the legal, it has to be a real estate lawyer type situation for them to be a realtor. And I don't know how things work as far as buyer's agent commissions. Is that something we work out, or because I'm actually calling for a JV partner. So if I don't get it under contract, would that be something, I just want to know how that would work.
So
Would it
you're
be
asking
something
if
I'd
you, are you
work
asking
out
if
or
you
what?
be represented by a buyer's
Okay, I
agent?
can't hear you. You look unmuted, but
You're
let me-
unmuted.
Can you hear any of us?
What in the world? No.
Maybe it's
Your volume down on no settings? No. Oh, hold on.
can you hear now?
Yes, it was
Okay,
me.
here we go.
Sorry.
So are you asking how it works if you need to be represented by a buyer's agent, or
No, if I call on a third party, you know, from a third party site, they refer me to a buyer's agent.
like Zillow?
Well, no, I think it was Redfin, but the person that referred me was with Veterans United, oddly enough. And
Okay.
she contracts with Veterans United. So her fee, whatever fee she gets, she has to pay them 30%. So I need to make sure if she's a buyer's agent and she's not the listing agent, do I have to contract with her for the buyer's agent, or do I work that in?
So anytime you're doing something like through Redfin or Zillow, guys, they have that button because there's that button that says contact agent, right? Is that what the button you hit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So
I took the number that was next to the button. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull up Zillow real quick so I can show everybody what it is you're talking about. So you know, nobody else can go through this. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay? You're not alone. I did the same thing. I didn't know how that worked.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get my Google to pull up, and then I'll do it. All right, Google. Let's try that.
my phone just was searching for you.
Well, Zillow doesn't like me right now for some reason. There we go. We'll just go here. Okay, let me share my screen for just a second.
Okay.
And y'all don't make fun of my tabs. I mean, that's pretty light for today.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
probably gonna be like a ton more, but I had to
That's
open-
actually not that bad.
I know, I was going crazy
No,
today.
not at all.
There's another window with like 100 tabs open.
Okay, well, that's pretty bad.
I just opened a different one, so I have less. Okay, so guys, what she's talking about is, you know, a third party. Let's just say I click on this property. Oh, that's only 150. Maybe I'll buy that one. Anyways, so when you're going on third party sites like Redfin, Zillow, Open, or any of them, right? You see this button here. Okay, you're like, oh, maybe I'll put, you know, an offer out on this. I need to contact the agent.
Right.
Here's the problem. Zillow is a third party and they're listing this property or showing the listing, right?
Yeah.
And so the way that they work is they have a group of agents that are on as buyer's agents to represent people that are interested in this property.
Subcontract, right.
So when you hit contact agent, it's going to put you in contact with a buyer's agent, not the agent that listed the property. Okay. So that's why we showed you when you're in Privy, because Privy doesn't have that button that's a third party. But if you go in Zillow, right, and you look down, you can go and see who it's listed by, right?
Yeah, they
Sometimes
don't have
they'll
that in
their
Redfin.
sometimes they'll have their contact information in there or not. But what we do is we just copy the information. If this phone number wasn't there, I'd copy and paste into Google and see if I can find the agent, the listing agent's information. Because if I hit this button, I have now entered into an agreement, so to speak. It's a not necessarily a signed contract, but agreement saying that I'm okay with the buyer's agent representing me. So now you've inserted a buyer's agent into the potential deal, right?
Yep.
So if you don't want to have a buyer's agent at the outset of the conversation you want to have with the listing agent, you need to just call the agent directly that has the listing.
Right.
Okay. So now you're asking, let me stop this share. So what do you do now that you have a buyer's agent?
Yeah.
So you need to, communicate with that buyer's agent. But Dameon, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's exactly how you kind of spelled it out. I actually never clicked the tab before. I lied. I did click it before, and they did not stop calling me back after I told them I wasn't interested. I know they just stay ring your line saying, "Are you so interested in the home?" and
Because that's
Well,
the commission too, right? That's what they're there for. They want to insert themselves into the deal, much like we want to insert ourselves into a deal when we're wholesaling it.
Well,
right?
oddly enough, I have an out with her because she's a knowledge sponge just like I am. And she wanted to know, I went into certain things and I had said, do you know about subject to? And she goes, no, but tell me more. And so, we had that little, so I have an out. That's not a problem. But so at that point, I just say, okay, thank you. I'll talk to somebody else or, whatever the case may be.
If you're still interested in the property, right, you've kind of inserted her into the deal. So then now all the communication needs to probably go through her because you don't want to have some ramifications come back because will be like, well, hey, we were representing them on this deal, right?
Okay.
So now that she talked to Zillow, she can't go and try to contact the agent.
Right. I wouldn't. Right.
So if I hand this over to my JV partner, I need to give her that contact information and say you have to go.
Do they know that you have a JV partner?
Yes.
Okay.
That was part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I talk to people like they're human.
Yeah. And it's you just want to make sure that you're not going around anybody, right? And sometimes it happens. We're not expecting a buyer's agent to be involved.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm like, well, I hit the button. I had the conversation. Okay, now we need to move forward, right? And so now all of that communication goes to them. So, again, guys, you don't find this out until you're in the middle of it.
You're right.
And Robin brought up a good point that you're not obligated to work with them at all. And a lot of buyer's agents will try to get you to sign a contract to have them be your realtor for about 6 months. Do not sign that.
Right.
Keep your options open, obviously, with whoever comes up. And if they don't want to work with you just because they won't sign that, then it's millions of other agents they can kind of go to work with. So
but if I go after that house, I mean, do I not need to?
You're not
they're not the buyer's agent over that house.
As long as I don't have a contract.
Yeah, the only agent attached to the house is a listing agent.
That's one of the things I wanted to know.
Yeah.
So when I pass this on to my JV partner, if I don't get the contract itself, then she can.
You still can go through it.
Yeah.
You can still go through it, Carol, without that buyer's agent, right? You can say, hey, I'm not interested in working with the buyer's agent for this particular deal, but just know that if you hit that button and you sign anything with them, you are locked in.
Yeah, no, haven't signed anything.
Yeah.
I know better than that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Right, let me see. I'm gonna mute and remove spotlight. All right, Miss Robin, come on down.
I actually was trying to help answer that question, but I forgot I still had my hand up. I was on a Zoom yesterday with Laura Morby, and she simply said, you don't have any obligation to work with a buyer's agent. She said, you can very truthfully tell them, because there's so many agents in our group, that you have a partner who is an agent that you're currently working with, and that you'll, continue on like that. So she got into a lot more detail, but basically you can just say, I already have a partner who's an agent. Thank you, but no, thank you.
Right. Thank you for bringing that up. I love Laura. Laura's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do not have an obligation with them, guys, but I caveat that by sometimes when we start clicking buttons and go through a certain process, we don't read everything that's written down in that little terms and conditions. So just make sure you're not signing anything when that agent contacts you, right? And Robin made a good point. Use a third party or use a partner story and saying, hey, I have a partner that's already helping me with this. I'm so sorry. Didn't realize that I was not contacting the listing agent. So great job, Robin. I appreciate you. All right, let's see. All right, guys, we got a few more minutes, probably handle a couple more questions. So if you got a question, please raise your hand. Everybody can learn from everyone.
I don't know if Diego's still here. I think he had a question, but it may have been answered, or he might be gone. Yeah, he might be gone.
Yeah, I think he left. Okay. Selena, can you explain non-disclosure for, you mean like multifamily? Selena?
Let me see. On top of the signing
You mean
documents from the non-disclosure
multi-agents?
for I'm thinking that's maybe what it is, like non-disclosure for
Oh,
multiple
hi.
agents.
All right, took me a second for the Zoom. Yeah, no, like, because I've been digging around on some multis, and they all, without being able to get the exact address, they want me to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which, like, I just didn't. I mean, does it really matter if I sign it to get the address?
Is this like with New Western or like a company like that?
Not particularly. I ran into it twice, and it was more of like off-market deals. They want me to sign like a non-disclosure for some sort of reason. I'm not exactly sure what. I mean, maybe just so their tenants, like, so I'm not disclosing to the tenants that the property is actually for sale because it's not on market.
So where is the person that's requesting the non-disclosure? Are they like with a company?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like I mean, I didn't get really far into it. I just kind of looked it over and I'm like, I'm just going to ask a question before I go any further on it. And I just kind of left that one alone until I got some clarification on it. But it sounded like that they were some sort of either wholesaler or trying to wrap it, like sell it on a wrap.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, yeah. If it's an individual, that's probably why. Like, so
okay,
it's just protecting them that if you take the address and then try to go around the wholesaler, then that's probably
okay.
If it's a company like Dameon saying, like New Western, do they do that a lot, Dameon?
Oh yeah, I think they do it like every time.
Yeah. So I would just be cautious with that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking for a non-disclosure, but I would work on building rapport a little bit more with that wholesaler if it is
right. Okay. So I mean, if I really want the address and they're just like, no, you need to sign the non-disclosure, be like, okay, I'll sign it. I'm not going to tell anybody. But I mean, I guess it could be verbiage within the document that wouldn't allow me to share that with anybody. So obviously I'm going to have to share the information with somebody.
Dameon, Justin, what do you guys do in that situation?
I just want to know why they're even having you sign an NDA to begin with. Like, that's the question I might ask is like, hey, I know you want me to sign an NDA, but like, is there a reason why? Like, this is kind of unusual. So
it's more like you probably don't have it under contract.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
It's an interesting tactic. I don't know.
It is. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Guys, normally if you have something under contract, it doesn't matter if you share the address at that point, right? Because it's your contract for a certain amount of days, right? Until you perform or not. So that's interesting. I haven't run into that yet. So that's a good thing to pay attention to. Oh yeah, James, that's it. That's a really good point. I see it a lot when there's a daisy chain. Yeah.
Mhm.
And for those of you that don't know what a daisy chain is, it's where you have multiple people that are involved in wholesaling the property from each other. So just, it's like if Dameon went and got a property under contract from, let's say, Chris. So he's got this contract, and this contract is for 130,000. Well, he's going to go assign the contract to Justin. Well, Justin talks to some of his buyers, and his buyers are like, oh yeah, I can do that. But then I come in and I say, hey, yeah, I'll buy it. I'll buy it from him for 150. So Dameon made $10,000. Justin made $10,000. And then I'm about to sell it to my end buyer, who's going to give me $10,000 if that deal ever existed. But that's kind of what daisy chaining is, guys. So if you run into that, that's probably the situation.
Yeah. And Shakira brought up a good point. They do that in commercial properties and like kind of like RV parks and stuff on like on a bigger scale. Just because like they require like a LOI and stuff like that to make sure they're serious buyers. They'll probably ask for like an NDA.
And especially so that maybe their renters don't know if it's being sold or not, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. It was kind of I think it was a 38 unit. So I mean, it was kind of on the larger side. So that totally makes sense. So okay.
Perfect. All right, guys. Probably a couple more questions, and then we're gonna finish up and wrap up here in a minute. And y'all don't be nervous, right? I want you guys to be engaged. I want you guys to enjoy being here and not have to worry about anyone judging you or anything like that. We all need to learn from each other. We're all starting from day one. I like to say a lot that, hey, it's my first day. Anytime I mess up, well, it's my first day. That's the first time I ever did that. That's the first time I messed up with that. So that way you can just move on and say, all right, well, tomorrow's going to be my second day.
I have a question.
Joe, raise your hand, dude. You know.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, is it Joe?
That's Eddie.
It's Eddie. I'm sorry, Eddie.
It's all right. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. This is my second time on a call with you guys. So
yeah.
Awesome.
If anybody's keeping track,
I'm paying attention.
That's my little introduction there. I had a question in regards to what I wrote this. Well, I wanted to ask you, what states do you work in, preferably?
If it's creative, anywhere.
And well, I mean, do you have? I mean, every state is kind of different. You got wet, you got dry, you got,
I think all of us agree that we probably enjoy the Carolinas, Florida, Texas, Arizona.
Sunbelt states.
Yeah.
So all Sunbelt, right on the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. That was pretty much it. That was the question. And then TCs, how much do those cost per file?
It depends on the TC. Yeah. Go ahead, Dameon.
Oh, no. I wasn't exactly saying what you said. It depends.
And it also depends on how much is involved, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you bring them a slam dunk and they're just looking over it, double checking it, and they don't have a whole lot to really do, it'd be on the lower side. But if they're going back and forth and communicating with the seller, communicating with the agents, getting all of it wrapped up, sent up to the title company, all of that stuff, it's probably going to be a little bit more on the higher side. But each TC has their own rate. And so that's why you just need to start building relationships with them. If you need a transaction coordinator, let one of us know, one of the leaders, and we can put you into contact with one of them. Robin, cool. A TC, do you want to answer that? What is it?
Yeah, TC is a transactional coordinator. So they're basically there to make sure exactly what the name is. They like coordinate the transaction, or is it transaction coordinator, to make sure like everything, all the signatures are signed by both the seller and buyer. Make sure all the title companies, all the paperwork in order, make sure everything's going to a smooth close. So that way you don't have to like, go back and make sure like this paper's signed, like you can focus on getting to the next property.
Correct.
They're definitely worth the money to
Yeah, they're
do it
worth
for, like,
their, all their weight in gold, right?
absolutely.
I mean,
My,
guys,
my background is real estate as in like, I'm not this side, as a mortgage broker or a lender.
Mhm.
So that's all, when you guys started talking about brokers and stuff like that, that's my background.
right, it's the same, it's very, very similar, right?
It
Because
is,
we're
it's the
looking-
same thing, a TC, real estate or a processor, pretty
Mhm.
much the same thing. I mean, everybody's overlooking everybody's work, basically.
Right, right. And guys, I'll tell you, a TC can save you a deal or they can save you money. And I mean that, whereas they look over all the nitty gritty small print stuff that you do not normally look at, that you should look at so that you're protected in the deal. Okay. That means that they're protecting your earnest money. They're protecting any money that you may be submitting for to the seller. Whatever it is, they're looking at it to make sure that you are getting exactly what you were promised when you talk to the agent or you talk to the seller, and vice versa, right? So that way when it goes to title and everything goes to the close of escrow, you guys are all set, everybody's happy, it works. Okay. So Robin asked, where do you find TCs? Yeah, so they're TCs, a lot of them are sub 2 students. So if you need one directly, let me know. I'll put you in contact with them and point you in the right direction for that. So that way you guys can find them. They're also in the Elephant Challenge, guys. We have TCs that are in the Elephant Challenge. So if you go to your specific state that you're working on a deal, put it in there in that little group chat for like Texas and Oklahoma or New Mexico. Put it in there and say, hey, I'm looking for a TC. I have somebody or something that I'm looking at that I need to double check the contract. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much for answering that question.
You're welcome. I appreciate the questions. I'm going to take you out real quick. All right, let's see. Remove Arthur. What you got?
Let me turn my screen. Hey, what's up, y'all?
Yes.
Hey.
So still waiting for this first deal to land. But since the last Elephant Challenge, I really have been enjoying, talking to agents. And I feel like when we get to the conversation about, seller finance, I'm getting a lot of, that they would be open to discussing that. But then I feel like there's been a couple times where I've brought some information, and I feel like I'm not bringing as much information as I could when I'm coming to sub 2 students, as far as what they really need to know for seller financing strategies. So I'm just trying to get clarity as far as, once an agent does say, yeah, we would be open to presenting anything and everything, or yeah, they're open to seller financing. What do I need to be bringing to you guys? What information do I need to gather from the agent so that I, have clear information to bring to you guys?
Justin, you want to answer that one?
Yeah. So a few things that would really help out is if they are already open to like a sub 2 type transaction, we need to know a few numbers to see if a deal is even possible at that point. So, if they are comfortable with even expressing those numbers to you at that point, and you've already gotten over the hurdle of what sub 2 is and how it works, then as far as a number standpoint go, we need to know their PITI, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. It's their total monthly payment on the property. Some other details that we would want to know are the loan balance, the type of loan it is, whether it's a FHA conventional or if it's a VA as well. Anything else, guys? What am I missing? Interest rate too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be a good one.
And
is that what your question was regarding? Or are you more asking about if they bring up an objection, what happens if we miss a payment, or if we as an investor miss a payment?
No, I think you were answering, yeah, kind of more of like, if I get kind of that information through the conversation with the agents, I think that would probably clear the energy when I'm trying to share the information with you guys. So I think that a little bit. Go ahead.
I had one thing. So like, if an agent does ask you like, and you might be getting this already, like, what's your offer? What I always say is, well, because we will be taking over the mortgage payment, our offer would be based on the mortgage itself. So I would need to know those details first in order to give you an offer.
So can you say that one more time? So offer would be made based off the mortgage
of the mortgage details.
Okay. And how, in any agent's opinion in here, is that, you know, if we're on good rapport and good channels, I mean, are those fair questions to ask an agent? I mean, are they able to kind of disclose that information?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like if they're already in that, like he said, over the hurdle of like kind of presenting something like that, like a sub 2 or like kind of getting creative in general, that's okay to kind of release that kind of information.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, that was very helpful. Thank you guys.
Yeah. And guys, if you have anything specific, right, because Elephant Challenge is really us getting you going and taking action. But if you have something specific that's dealing with something creative, bring it to us directly, right? So that way we can have a more in-depth conversation about it with you. And instead of having a hypothetical, bring a potential, right? Have something concrete that we can start picking apart and seeing if this is actually just a lead or if it is a potential deal, right? So hypotheticals are great and they help you learn, but not as much as actually going in and getting to the nitty gritty of those questions when you're talking to agents. And one thing that I suggest is that when you're making calls, Arthur, and you want to see if someone's interested in seller finance or creative finance, don't let it be this in-depth conversation, right? Just the first conversation needs to be about getting to those pain points. Then your follow-up question, once you do your numbers, that's where I typically like to bring in, hey, you know, I have something I'm working on with my numbers, but I was wondering if they may be interested in something else, more creative or seller financing, right? And seeing what they say, because then at that point, if they say no, they're not interested in that, you know, then I can say, all right, well, cool, where can I submit my offer if I have one, right? Dameon, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, no. I mean, that sounds absolutely right. Like the way, that's a great way to handle it.
Yeah, so don't overwhelm the agent with the creative financing, guys.
Yeah.
Don't do that the first call.
Like, or just plant seeds.
Yeah.
Plant seeds for the next call and let it progress until where you're getting.
So if I call agents kind of says, yeah, you know, they're open to offers, I would essentially run it as a cash offer like we're learning in the Elephant Challenge, but then come to a sub 2 student and say that they're also open to terms. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
You don't necessarily have to come. I mean, we would love for you to come to us, right? For that, right? But you know, if you get down to the end of the first call with the agent, say, hey, you know, you told me a lot of great information, and I'm going to work on my numbers here. On the second call, whether you've talked to one of us as sub 2 students or not, that's where I would bring up different options, right? In the follow up. Okay. So, but yeah, I recommend it. If you're like, hey, could this be something creative? Yes, bring it to us and we'll help you. We'll educate you on if it would be or if it wouldn't be.
Okay.
And as sub 2 students, we don't only do sub 2, like we do everything. So like we can help you out with any, like if you need help with the cash offer, like help comping just in general of that, like we're here to help you with, like we're more of like real estate problem solvers.
Yep.
So like if you have a problem that you don't know how to solve, like that's when you'll come to us and we'll try to figure out like what can we do next to kind of get you to the finish line.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, and guys, you know, I have Zooms 3 times a week with these awesome guys up here. They're with me on Thursdays, and on Mondays and Tuesdays, it's going to be a rotating new leader in with me, right? So that way you guys get different perspectives on different things. So like next week, we're going to be talking heavily about mindset on Monday and Tuesday, which I think everybody needs, especially now that we're done drinking from a fire hose. and actually being able to figure out, okay, I have all these questions in my mind and I don't know what to do with them and I don't know where to put my energy. Okay, so we're going to help you kind of get organized with that. But Thursdays are still going to stay with these two awesome guys and myself, and maybe another guest that's going to come on that's a leader. And so that way we give you more perspective, so you know that our three opinions aren't the only opinions out there, right? And so I encourage you to go on the training schedule in Discord and hop on to every single Zoom that you can. But there's other Zooms for agent outreach. There's other Zooms for comping. There's other Zooms for how to submit offers. There's Kevin, and I think it's Ralph, does deal or no deal. Is my lead a deal or a no deal? That would be huge for all of you to go to. So bounce around, find your tribe, find your people, jump in where you need help at the time you need help for that thing. Okay. All the leaders are here to help you, and we want to see you all succeed. We want to help as many people get to their first deal as possible. So that way we can go back and say, hey, Pace, we got, this many people that we help get their first deal between now and the next challenge. Okay. So that's why we want to hear your wins. That's why we want to hear your lessons. So that way we can all move forward together. So, oh, Carol, you got something else? Arthur, I'm going to hit you up later.
Thanks, Arthur.
Let's see, Carol, what you got?
Okay, so I just put it in the chat. I'm blocked on Discord for now because I made the mistake of deleting the old account. So I have about 10 more days to go. How do I get to your Zooms, or how can you send me a link? Or
did you get the Zoom today in the creative group? Is that how you got in?
No, she's on Discord. I'm not.
Okay.
She's part of my team.
So okay, so she's in Discord. She
Yeah.
can copy the Google Calendar link. I think I can get it too. Hang on.
Okay.
I have the Google Calendar.
Yeah, she says she has it.
Yeah, so I'll put it in the chat for everybody else too.
Okay.
Training. All right. Copy. And then I'll put it in here so everybody has it.
Okay.
Guys, you can save that to your own calendar. At the bottom right-hand side of the page is a little plus sign.
Yep.
It'll say add
Gotcha.
to calendar.
Yep.
Sometimes that it'll redirect and it'll take a minute for that button to come up to say add. Just wait. Don't
Okay.
refresh, don't do anything, just wait.
Okay.
And then on the left-hand side, after you add it, it'll show a checkbox of the Elephant Challenge
Right.
calendar. You can uncheck or check if you want to see it or not see it on your own schedule.
Okay.
So, hope that helps.
Thank you much. Yeah, that because I loved this.
Awesome.
I don't
Awesome.
have
Well,
this access, so
I guess we're gonna see you next week then.
exactly.
Dameon, are
Maybe
we gonna
before then.
are we gonna tell them their homework?
Yes.
Yeah, so homework is we are going to, between the time now and next Thursday, we're gonna challenge you guys to at least call 5 to 10 agents a day. And then come back to us next Thursday. We'll come back with the feedback, what you learned, how like wins, losses, what else? Things that you feel like you could have done better. Just so everybody can kind of understand what everybody else is going through and learn from each other. That's the main goal. Learn through other people, learn through other people experiences. That's what we want to do. So yeah, I think is that all the homework we have for next week?
Yeah, it's just call the 5 to 10 agents between now and next Thursday, just like Dameon said. So that, guys, that's 35 calls to 70 calls. Honestly, I want you to make 100 calls, but
yeah,
we understand it's a little bit at a time, right? So while you do that, though, when you're doing your homework, making those 5 to 10 calls, write down in each call, make sure you're keeping track of what you talked to that agent about. Right? How'd the conversation go? Make yourself little notes. But I want you guys to come back with 5 things you learned in those conversations and 5 questions you have after having those conversations. So that way we can start next week with really getting off to a running start. Like, okay, cool. I did my homework. I got into this problem. I don't know what to do next. How do I answer that on a call? How do I handle this objection? Okay. So That is your homework. 5 to 10 calls and then 5 to 10 questions and wins. Okay. And then what's our topic next week, Justin?
Topic next week. Let me see what we got here. What is our topic next week?
We're gonna be doing, we're gonna go on privy and we're gonna be looking at some comping and underwriting, right?
Yep.
So Justin and I are gonna be handling that and kind of showing you guys 2 different perspectives and ways that we do comping that still gets you to the same result or close to it. And then Dameon is going to teach you about being in a buyer's shoes and what that's like, right? You want to go a little bit more into that, Dameon?
Yeah, so what we mean by that is like whenever you are typically wholesaling it, whether it's going to be a creative deal or just a regular cash offer deal, you want to understand like, you know, if you're wholesaling it to a buyer, you want to understand it from their perspective, like what all their cost is into it. So you want to talk about their rehab costs, their holding costs when they have with the banks. You want to talk about their resale costs because they have to pay their own agents, their own commissions and stuff like that, closing costs on the backside. Also think about like the buy and holder situation without rising interest rates. Buyers are having to buy it at a lot deeper discount. They're trying to buy and hold the property to make sure like it balances out with their PI, TI with their loan. So gonna be talking about kind of different aspects of that and what you need to do to kind of communicate that. I think Dameon was kind of talking about that as far as communicating that strategy with the agent to have them understand like why you're coming in with that perspective.
Yep. Okay, guys. And then the last thing I want to add before we wrap up for the day is between now and then, if you, as we get closer to Thursday, if you have an agent that you want us to reach out to and call, or that we bring you up so you can call and you can get some feedback while we're on the phone with all of us here so you can learn, hit me, Dameon, or Justin up in Discord. Say, hey, I have a great agent or a great scenario. I would love to come up and call. Please do, because you see how we ran into the same issue today where we're going to call and agents may or may not answer, right? So if we already have some people lined up, that would be awesome. But we want it to be your leads, guys, or your agents. So that way you can get more from it and just take off with it if it goes in the right direction, right? This is to help keeping you to take action. We're going to have some that we're looking for together. But if we have some people that are like, oh yeah, I totally want to raise my hand and do that. Absolutely. And if you're too terrified to call them on your own, we'll be right here to help you with it. Cool? All right, guys, give me a yes if everybody had fun. Give me a no if like this was terrible. Let me see it.
Hey, are those pillar questions on Discord?
The pillar questions?
Yeah.
We can
one that
post
Justin had. Yeah. Justin, you can post it in there. I think.
Yeah, I'll post it.
Can you post it in the chat one more time too?
Yes, I will.
Guys, if you don't know, there's 3 little buttons on the bottom of the chat. If you click that, you can actually save the chat. So make sure you're doing that. That way you guys can start networking with people and saving anything you may need. So Justin just posted that. I'm going to give you guys like 10, 15 seconds to copy and paste. Where Robbie, where you at, dude? You got a good question?
Let's see if I can find it. What was the question?
Well, I asked from a 3,000-foot level, what is, how do you explain to an agent what subject to is if they don't have any idea what it is?
Yeah. So you can basically give them like a. I like to give a third party story to kind of dumb it down. Which I'm sure you guys heard. So like if you're going to like, a grocery store and you have a credit card and you're paying for those groceries and like, how you're using basically someone else's money to do that, using like the bank's money or whoever you bank with, Wells Fargo, Chase, whatever the case is, you're using their money to pay for the groceries, but you get to have the ownership of the groceries because you have the receipt, right? So in that sense, if you transition it to real estate, you're basically saying that they're taking out a loan from Wells Fargo, basically using their money to pay for the house. And I'm just they don't care who the payments come from at that point. So I'm gonna be the one paying back that loan for you, but instead I get the receipt to say I have the ownership of, Upstate Groceries or the house, the deed of the house. You can kind of have it relate to that way. It's the same way you would use a credit card.
Does that make sense?
Does that make sense? I don't know if I helped you out or kind of made you more confused.
Get with a sub-2 student so we can go through that with
Or you
you.
can get with a sub-2 student and we'll
That's
kind of
the
break it down a
easiest
little
way.
bit.
The
Robbie,
easiest
a
way.
lot of agents know about assumable loans. I don't want to get too in depth with that. Don, are you saying no?
No, don't get
You're
Don't
mute,
don't
Robbie.
get up.
You're mute, Robbie. I think he was trying to say something.
Yeah.
Oh, here, hey, Roby, what were you
Yeah,
saying?
the VA FHA I have a VA loan myself, so I understand the assumable part of that. I was just trying to figure out what the difference was between the two. One of the realtors I talked to, I mistakenly got into the whole creative financing too early, and he just, that's illegal, was the first words out of his mouth, kind of thing. And then he went into, I recovered fortunately, because we're apparently now on good speaking terms. So, that then he went into the FHA VA assumable portion of it, and I am familiar with that, but that was where that came from.
Yeah, we're not assuming anything with a sub-2. We're not assuming the loan. We
Right.
are taking over monthly payments. That's what we're doing. To keep it as simple as that, we're leaving the loan in place and taking over the mortgage payment. That's it. Right? So
Okay.
it's 100% legal in every state. Okay. It's been done since probably mortgages have been invented. Right? It's just most people don't know about them. There are some risks with it, but those things can also be mitigated. So, and without going into a rabbit hole, there's so many different things that we could talk about with it. But that's why we say, instead of having a hypothetical, bring us something that we can explain that scenario to you so it clicks a little bit better. Because
Right.
if we start talking about hypothetical deals and what all of this is, this could go on for hours. That's why Pace is on his videos all the time for hours upon hours upon hours. So, but yeah, Roby, if you have something that's specific, reach out to one of us. We talked on the phone, I think, for an hour last night. So
Yeah.
happy to do
The
that.
deal I was working on that I was going to try and submit an offer on today, that fell through too. So whatever the ARV I came up with was the wrong method for what the buyer was looking at. So it was.
But you learned.
I did. I learned exactly what he's looking for, and I learned exactly how he's calculating his ARV to come across with the numbers he's looking for. So now, at least when I'm looking for him, or run across something, I know exactly what to look for from that perspective. So
no problem, man. You did awesome. Great job.
That's all I got.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. I'm so glad you guys were all here. Dameon, Justin, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And if you guys don't have anything else to add, then I guess we'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely. Thank you, Don.
Yeah, let's give a shout out to Don, putting
Absolutely.
this together and doing an awesome job. Thank you, Don.
For sure. Don's amazing.
All right, guys, get out of here. Go take some action. Go make your calls. And when you do make your calls, I want one caveat. You're going to tag either me, Dameon, or Justin, or all of us in that post and say, hey, I completed my homework. Okay. I want you guys to be engaged. Take action. And then we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Absolutely.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.